We're in love with you. I fear that sometimes that love is sketchy, forget about it, and we have other things that take priority in our schedules and our times, and forgive us for that. I pray, Lord, that you would bless this group of people. First of all, they're my brothers and sisters in Christ. Thank you for their love for you, primarily, their love for their church, their families, their pastor and his family. Thank you, Lord, for many years to hold us up and encourage us. And we're grateful. A lot of people are very, very sick tonight, Lord. I don't know what your perfect will is. We pray for a lot of people that are sick. My prayer is that you would speak health, if that's your will. If that's not your will, speak grace into the lives that are going to be directly and greatly impacted by their loss. I pray that you give us wisdom tonight to study history. This is a critical topic. It can be a very touchy topic, very sensitive topic. I pray that you give us open minds to see what has happened in the history of mankind up to this very day. May we receive the truth in Jesus' name, I pray. All right, in the book of Acts, chapter 19, we're going to read verses 24 through 28. And I want you to understand that what we're going to be talking about tonight, I have no personal axe to grind with anybody. I have no grudge to grind with anybody. What I'm going to tell you is verifiable history, okay? Now, sometimes history is inconvenient, and I'm aware of that. You look back on the history of certain people, and when you dig into the facts, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that about that person. And the same thing is true about religion. When you dig back into the beginning of religion in human culture, what was the first faith ever expressed in the world of humanity? Who was worshipped first? God was. All right? It did not take many generations for this expression of faith to be diverted from Jehovah to other gods and goddesses. We made them up. We duplicated as best our demented minds could do. We duplicated the person of God, the person of his Son, the story of the gospel. We perverted that. Men have taken the story in the stars and have perverted it, turned it from astronomy to astrology, which is the study of, to the worship of. Everything that God has done, we've perverted it and tried to steal its focus from the face of God, put it on our face. And in Acts chapter 19, beginning with verse number 24, Acts 19:24, a certain man named Demetrius. All right, now his name means goddess of corn, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana. All right, now this is the female, the mom. And these shrines were models of the temple of Diana in Ephesus, with a little model of her sitting on a throne inside this little alcove. They'd make these things out of solid silver and sell them, and apparently made quite a bit of money. Paul comes to town, and he's preaching the gospel. And a lot of people are listening, and they're like, oh, but we're buying these shrines. No, that's not God. And so prices started to, or profits started to slip a little bit. And he says in verse number 24, this guy, it brought no small gain unto the craftsmen, whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, so we've got a union meeting, and said, sirs, ye know that by this craft we have our wealth. So the first concern was what? Money. Okay? We're losing money. Moreover, beside the fact, secondarily, you see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost throughout all Asia, this Paul hath persuaded and turned away much people, saying, that they be no gods which are made with hands. Did he quote him accurately? He quoted him word for word. They be no gods. Doesn't that make sense? You can't make a god. Now, you can make a statue, you can make an idol, but you can't make a god. So that not only this, our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also that the temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed or diminished, whom all Asia. Now, up in verse number 26, he said, almost throughout all Asia. Now he's exaggerating. Everybody worships Diana of the Ephesians. The whole world worships them. Now, verse 28. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, great is Diana of the Ephesians. Now, the first two lessons in our study, we attempted to establish and reveal the kinship. All false religions started at the same place. Now, this thing has diversified. It has become culturally related. There's no question about that. But we walked through several thousand years of human history, and we've seen how there is a singular dark genius behind false religion. And it morphs to meet the cultural mores wherever it goes. It's the same thing, painted different colors, different nationalities, different names of the characters involved. But always it involves the miraculous birth of a child. Well, that involves a mom. The dad basically is non-existent because this woman somehow miraculously is impregnated by a star, the wind, a ray of light. It's all different, but it's the same basic thing. Here's this woman that is pregnant, but not by a man. And the child that she is going to bear into the world is going to be the Savior of the world. And this child is always going to do battle with a snake. It's always a snake, always a serpent. In every culture, it's a serpent. And the serpent kills the child. Well, he's not a child when he gets killed, but he kills this man that was birthed miraculously. But he's raised from the dead. And this victory over the snake, which is death, represents death, that's how people are saved. Does that sound familiar to you? All right, now you keep in mind, this is thousands of years before Jesus is born. Now you tell me, what are the chances that some guy just guesses all of these components of the gospel story, and he starts it? Nimrod is the one that put this together, by the way, and his name means let us rebel. So Nimrod was the founder of the first Babylonian Empire. He established a system of religion called the Mysteries. And he had, they built, the Tower of Babel. And what people, often think of, and I heard a guy say this one time, that those people tried to build a tower so tall that it'd reach into heaven and they could just jump off into heaven. And I was like, oh my word, that's nothing like what this was. This tower was a ziggurat. And the ziggurat is a flat-top pyramid. Okay? There aren't very many of them, but the Tower of Babel is a flat-top pyramid. On top of this flat top, there was a temple. In this temple, there was, around the walls, there were painted, it was a fresco, the 12 signs of what culture calls the zodiac. Job refers to it as the Mazzaroth, and it means the same thing. There were names of the stars. Now, where did the stars get their names? God named the stars. Do you think he just said, oh, Bobby? We'll call that one Bobby. No, these stars were named after their meaning, where they were located in each of these constellations. And so from the virgin birth to the second coming is pictured in these 12 signs. Every month, even right now, every month, these things shift. We have a different view every month. And so for thousands of years, the Lord He's changed the picture every month. Every 30 days, you got Virgo, the virgin. And then you have Hercules, the hero whose heel is on top of the head of a snake. I mean, it is a visual gospel. Well, Satan has taken that and turned it into a religion itself. And so, anyway, this religion had a group of leaders. These were spiritual leaders. And they established this complex order of clerics or priests to execute these ceremonies of the mysteries. And from what I have been able to see, they got this information from demonic sources. That's the only way. Where did human beings get the idea that a woman would be virginally conceive, have a child, this child would be the hero of his people, and he's going to do battle with the serpent, and the serpent would kill him, and then he would rise from the grave? Where did he get that idea? Where'd that come from? Did they just make that up? I don't think so. Yeah, it's just, well, here's what I think happened. Satan, who was Lucifer, was originally where? Okay, he was in heaven. He was the covering archangel. He was the choir leader of heaven. You're aware that Satan has never been to hell. He wasn't kicked out of heaven so that he doesn't have access to heaven. That has not happened yet, and it will one day. He lost his position. And as a result of that, he is the hated, hateful enemy of God. Everything this being can do to draw worship away from the God of heaven, he's done it. And he's done it honestly very well. And so this order of priests, now some of these names are going to sound oddly familiar, all right? Now this, I can show you in history. I'm not making any of this stuff up. This is way too important just to start throwing things around. It was called the College of Pontiffs. That was the name of this group of cardinals or priests that he used. And the head of this cardinal college, this group of pontiffs, was called Pontifex Maximus. All right, now Pontifex, it means bridge builder. We get the word pontoon from it. So here's a bridge builder. Maximus means what? Maximum, supreme, ruler. So who was this guy? He was the supreme bridge builder between God and man. So already now, we are having focused attention broken from the coming Son of God to this mystery religion. And the Pope claims to be the successor of the Apostle Peter as the Bishop of Rome. Now, what I'm about to tell you, I can prove this to you without any question whatsoever. He claims to have been given the keys of Peter as a sign of his spiritual authority. And the title Pontifex Maximus for over 1,000 years had been designated to be the head of this mystery religion founded by Nimrod. That was the only place this name was ever used. Pontifex Maximus was the supreme bridge builder of this mystery religion. There were two Roman gods that had a key, and it was a symbol of their authority, and one was Janus, Janus, and he was the equivalent of Nimrod. He had a key. There was Sybil, who was the equivalent of his mother/wife, Semiramis. She had a key. And before the Bishop of Rome assumed the title of Pontifex Maximus, he never claimed to be the successor of Peter as the holder of these keys. That was never a claim. Now, there are two questions that must be asked and answered. Number one, when did this claim first become public? When did the Bishop of Rome claim to be the Pontifex Maximus? Question number two, what caused this claim to be made? Well, this claim was first made in 431 AD. You say, well, why was it made? The Roman Empire split into the eastern and western divisions, and you're aware of this split, still split today as a matter of fact. And the capital of the Roman Empire was moved to Constantinople. And in order to retain basically the dignity of the bishop of the church, the Bishop of Rome claimed that he was the heir of the keys of Peter. All right, now, this happened in 378 AD. Janus and Sibyl were depicted as carrying a key, a piece. And these keys were the symbol of their office of opening and interpreting the minds of the gods. They could unlock the minds of the gods and get this information and give it to men. And so these people that were involved in this mystery religion could understand God's will for their lives only as they went to Janus and Sibyl. In 431, the Bishop of Rome claimed, and he publicly laid hold of the keys of Peter. Now, pagan worshipers instantly recognized these keys. Instantly. Because Janus and Sibyl, who were Nimrod and Semiramis, in modern clothes and in modern names, they held a key. And so when this story broke in 471, people flocked. I'm talking about pagan people that came out of these mystery religions flocked to the Pontifex Maximus. And they believed that this guy was the representative of their Messiah. And these keys were to have belonged to Peter. And it is true. There was a man in Rome whose name was Peter. And he did indeed hold keys. However, he was not the Apostle Peter of the New Testament. All right, now listen very carefully. There are three pretty strong references we talked this morning to establish what I just told you. Number one, Peter in the New Testament was never the Bishop of Rome. Historically, you cannot find that. Number two, Peter probably never even went to Rome. Number three, Peter was the apostle to the circumcision. Paul was the apostle to the uncircumcision, or to the Gentile world. And it is true, however, that a man named Peter did occupy the highest place in this pagan priesthood. That is true. The guy's name was Peter. And the priest who explained the mysteries to the worshipers was called a hierophant. All right, now the word hierophant in Chaldee, which was the ancient language of this mystery religion, you know how you pronounce hierophant in the original Babylonian language? All right, now, and it means interpreter. So here was a guy named Peter who had the keys, all right? He did carry keys as a symbol of his authority. He was the interpreter of the minds of the gods. And for 1,000 years prior to this claim in 471 AD, this mystery religion, this Pontifex Maximus leader, was the leader of this mystery religion founded by Nimrod. Now all of a sudden, boom, the Bishop of Rome claims this title. And it seems as though nobody questioned it. That's the new Pontifex Maximus. And so it shifted over people's attention to this worship. And as the interpreter, it was only natural that he be decorated with the keys of Janus. And he was. And so the Pontifex Maximus came to be the keeper of the keys of Peter. Not the Apostle Peter, but the hierophant. This man's name was Peter, that did live in Rome, and he was the head of this mystery religion. And Peter, this was the same person as Hermes. Now, the name Hermes means the interpreter or the unfolder. I teach a class over the college called hermeneutics. You know what hermeneutics is? Hermeneutics is the explanation of how to interpret the Bible. That's where we get, and I don't like the name. I don't like the name hermeneutics, but that's where it came from. It came from Hermes, who was the interpreter of the gods. And Rome used Christ's words about Peter. Peter's not the foundation of the church. Okay? Language will not let that be true. When Peter made the declaration, Peter, who do you say that I am? You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. He said, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you, but only my Father in heaven. And he said, upon this rock will I build my church. All right, now, Peter in the Greek language means a piece of gravel. A very small, like something you get in your shoe, right? And he called him this little rock. Then he said, and upon this rock, he used a different word. It is the word Petros. And it's where we get the word Petra from. All right? It means huge foundation stone. So we've got a little piece of gravel, who is the Apostle Peter. Then we've got this huge, this gigantic stone of foundation. What did that represent? Jesus Christ being the Son of the living God. That was the claim. That was the truth upon which the church was built. Not the Apostle Peter. Again, language will not let that be true. Plus, history will not let that be true either. And so this entire story is based on a very clever deception and manipulation of names and languages. But the pontiff had to have help in executing the business of this church now. And so he had a group of men called the Grand Council of State. And these men helped keep all of these churches that begin to pop up with this as their theological base. And this Grand Council of State came to be known as the College of Cardinals. Now, the word cardinal is from the Greek word cardo. And the word cardo means hinge or door. So the term cardinal just simply means it was referring to Janus, who was Nimrod. And you know what he was known as in history? Janus was known as the god of doors and hinges. So what picture does that bring up to your mind? Who lets you in the door into the presence of God? Janus. Well, who's that? Nimrod. Who is that? Pontifex Maximus, the supreme bridge builder. Well, who in fact is the supreme bridge builder? Jesus Christ. So they took his position, they took the history of his birth and his life and his death and his resurrection, and they assigned all of those attributes to someone else. And generation after generation after generation has done the same thing. It has followed the lineal descent from Nimrod. And again, it is so deceptive because there are so many differences in names. There are so many differences in some small details, but the general overall story is exactly the same, folks. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what they're exactly right. They've got some references, but the idea is wrong. they've got them under the wrong thought. Now, he was worshipped in Rome as the grand mediator. Okay? And in order to enter the presence of God, you had to enter through the door of Janus. Asia Minor was full of this belief that the god of doors and hinges was a human, and that this human was born of a virgin, and well, all the rest of the whole thing. Now, look in Revelation 3, verse number 7. Revelation 3:7. We who live in the West and are not very closely associated with these things don't get this stuff. But if you lived in the first century, in Greek culture, you knew exactly what was being said here. Look in Revelation chapter 3, verse number 7. To the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth, and no man shutteth, and shutteth, and no man openeth. That is not just a random statement. That was a knife to the throat of this system that Nimrod was the god of doors and hinges that let people into the presence of God. And that is just simply not true. Now, I submit to you that this system that we're studying in history, and I've got references at home. If anybody wants to see the resources that what I'm telling you is based on, that are very historically accurate, I'd be welcome to show those to you. But I submit to you that the Pope is nothing more than the successor of Nimrod. Now I know that would set a lot of people on fire. And if I could not prove that, I give you my word, I would not say that. Specifically, I would not say that publicly. And specifically, I would not say that over the internet. We've got thousands of people watching this right now. So I am aware of the significance of that statement. This mystery religion has always promoted the woman. Always been the mom. The child is the child. The child is the baby. The child is basically an insignificant member of the duo here. And let me just, I base this position on some historical facts and some data with contemporary evidence. So let me share some of that with you. Here are some of the names ascribed to this sovereign pontiff of Babylon. All right? Now, of Babylon. This is way before 471 AD when the bishop of the Roman Church took this name for himself. All right? This is what he was called. God on earth. He was called Vice God. He was called the Vicar of God. He was called His Holiness. Now, in 471 AD, all of these descriptive terms were then transferred to guess who? The new Pontifex Maximus, who was the chief, the bishop of the Roman Church. Now, this is also a belief that the pontiff was above sin. What he did and what he said was without sin. I don't believe that. I don't think you believe that. Here's the third thing. There was worship and adoration of this man by his followers. Kings and cardinals had to kiss his slipper. He is worshiped. He's adored. He's not questioned. Chaldean kings made conquered kings kiss their foot, basically, kiss their slipper. The relics and the costumes and the ceremonies are identical. If you will look, did everybody get their handout here? You got a handout? All right, now this is the Egyptian. Look at the top relief. There's a key in Pharaoh's hand. Now, who was God in Egypt? Who was the most powerful god in Egypt, according to Egyptian mythology? The Pharaoh. All right? Look what he's got in his hand. It's a key. Now go to the middle one. You have specifically, I want you to look, go to the left, go to the second figure on the left. You see, he's wearing a fish costume. See his head? It's a fish head. You know where that came from? You remember in the house of Dagon, when the Ark of the Covenant was brought into the house of Dagon? You remember what happened to the fish god Dagon? Remember what happened to him? He fell over, what, 3 times? Yeah, broke off. All right, now I'll just, fish head. Now I want you to imagine, and I'm sorry I don't have a picture that I could get it very easily, but I didn't get it tonight. Have you ever seen the Pope wear his mitre? You know what that looks like? The fish head. Now again, these things are, it might be shocking. And I'm telling you this, that there are religions in this world that are anti-biblical, right? But they appear to be so biblical. I told you this morning about Buddhism and how Buddhism is a religion without a God. Now, can you explain that to me? Then there are religions that have the wrong God. This is 99% of the world, folks. Human beings are worshiping creatures. That is as part of our nature as birds flying and fish swimming. We are a worshiping being. We understand we're not right with somebody, but the world just doesn't know who. And so here's what we do. We bring pineapples to the volcano. The volcano erupts. Oh my goodness, the gods are mad at us. And it just seems like the gods are always upset about something. You know, their hemorrhoids are always inflamed, and they're just always mad, and you got to bring something, you know, a chicken or a virgin, or, I mean, down through history, look at the stuff we've done to appease the anger of the gods. This is human religion. You have to buy their pleasure. Jesus comes along, the actual, real, virgin-born Savior of the world. What did we sacrifice to please him? Nothing. Thank you, Nathan. Absolutely nothing. In men's religions, the worshiper sacrificed to the God. In Christianity, the God sacrificed for us. Completely opposite. Now, we live in a world that will bite anything that sounds religious. The more ridiculous it is, the more easily it seems like we swallow this stuff. By the way, does anybody have any questions? I know there's a lot of information. But as I jumped into this, oh my goodness, 20 years ago. And I said, I am going to find out. I have got to get to the bottom of what this is all about. And for months and months, I overturned every stone I could find. I bought every book. People I agreed with, people I didn't agree with, I wanted to know. Historians that were extremely credible. I tried to keep my resources in that end of the scale. And I came up with some surprising information. One of the books that gave me as much information as any of the others was by Alexander Hislop. And it's called The Two Babylons. I'm not even sure the book is in print these days. It might be, but I bought a copy several decades ago and have just about worn it out, looking through it and reading. And but I want you to understand, again, I have no personal grind against anybody. You may have friends that grew up in Catholicism. I think those people are loved of God. just like we are. I think they're in a system that is not true. I don't think it is biblical. Things have been added to the doctrinal statement of the Catholic Church through the years. Things that I think are, again, anti-biblical. I have a list here. I'm not going to get into it. I've got 8 or 10 pages of heresies and traditions that have been added to the list of doctrinal theological statements of the Roman Church. And this has been going on for about 1,600 years. Worship of Mary. The veneration of saints. Now, what is a saint? Can you tell me what a saint is? Saint is anybody who's accepted Jesus Christ. Paul on a number of occasions said to the saints at this church, to the saints at the... Did you know you're a saint? So, well, I thought a saint was somebody like Mother Teresa that has done really, really good stuff. No. She might be. But you, if you've accepted Christ as your replacement for sin, you are not only a child of God, but children of God are called saints. Now, we don't have halos. Okay? We don't have wings on our back. We don't do anything like that. But I think it is important that we understand not everything that is referred to as religion is true. All right? I want to wrap up. I want to read you something. This is, what did I say? Been telling us the whole time. I've got an article here that I've had this, oh my goodness, this book was 1972 as a matter of fact. And there's an article in this book called Streggery. And it's by Louis Martello, who is an expert in Italian history, specifically in Italian religious history. And let me read to you what he says. Diana, as goddess of secrecy and sorcery, was worshipped by runaway slaves, outcasts, the oppressed, night people, and those who were anti-establishment. All right, now, what does Nimrod mean? What does that name mean? Let us rebel. What was he rebelling against? Who was his daddy? Cush. What does Cush mean? Chaos. Why was Cush so chaotic? And why did he name his kid, Let Us Rebel? Was there a curse on him or something? He did not like what happened to his dad. And so the God that cursed his father, he said, no, we ain't having that. We're going to start our own stuff. And so he even named his son after this. So this is what we're talking about. And so those who were anti-establishment often called Luna. You ever heard the term lunatic? Okay. Since she was the moon goddess, they congregated in the forest at night and paid her homage. These victims of oppression could not turn to a Christian or Roman god, but they did have their goddess. Unlike many northern races, the Italians have always revered the goddess. And when the country became Christianized, this was transferred to the Blessed Virgin. You know what he just said? So, when I first discovered all of this, I was just kind of like, you've got to be kidding. And I didn't come out with this publicly for a long time because it's pretty significant. And I wanted to make sure. And so as I began to reach into other resources, I found the same exact information, same exact resources, the same dates, the same beliefs, the same additions, all of that, it just fell together. And now here, we're Baptist. We are a specific subsection of Baptist called Missionary Baptist, and we're called Missionary Baptist because we believe in doing mission work. We're not Protestants. Okay? The word Protestant means to protest. Now, what is a Protestant religion? All right? They were all in the Catholic Church, and somebody or a group of somebody said, we don't believe this. We don't believe Doctrine 2.1, so we're going to pull out and start our own group. They took the basis of the doctrine with them, but they just changed that one thing that they didn't like, so they protested out. And so every Protestant religion was once a part of the Catholic Church. Guess who has never been a part of the Catholic Church? Baptist. Now, let's not get silly here. I've heard this, that, there was John the Baptist. Well, folks, that wasn't a denominational name, okay? The word Baptist is translated baptizer or immerser. So John was the immerser or the baptizer. So he was not a Baptist. And I've heard it said that, John the Baptist was a Baptist. He baptized Jesus, therefore Jesus is a Baptist. And I'm like, oh my word, come on now. All right, now in order to be a Baptist, if I'm not, now correct me if I'm wrong, you have first to be lost and then be saved. I don't think Jesus fit the category of a lost man who got saved and became that's ridiculous. We have our own ignorance just like everybody else has theirs. And no. Yep. We've been called a lot of stuff. We've been called a lot of stuff. You're right. But there was the Paulicians, the Donatists, the Montague. I mean, we've not always been known as Baptist. Depending on what country you were in or what region of the country you were in, and we've been called just by a lot of different names. But we stand tonight as, and I think I can show this to you in history, what we believe, the basics of what we believe can be traced back to the shores of the Sea of Galilee. All right? The perpetuity of our faith, the perpetuity of our system of belief, I think, has a historical connection to what Jesus did on the seas of Galilee, shore of Galilee. I don't think the church began on the day of Pentecost. I do, if you want to say, all right, that's the birthday of the church, all right, it's her third birthday. She was 3 years old on that day, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But I thought it was important that we address these issues, and I don't ever want to do anything like this from a platform of hate. I will not do that. I think we need to know the truth. All right, and I don't think the truth, and if the truth is offensive, whose problem is that? Is it the problem of the person who presents it? And I realize that, people are taught things from maybe childhood that when they come into contact with a biblical representation of those things, it can be kind of like, there are people in this county that are taught that Jesus is the Archangel Michael. Yep. Right here in the city of Wauchula. You believe that? I don't believe that. Don't believe that at all. I've had them come to my house wanting to discuss this. I am tickled to discuss this. Had a couple come one day, and we were standing out by the water pump there at the house, and they started asking questions. And they wanted to run all over the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation to the millennial to the tribulation. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. What do you believe about Jesus? Well, and they gave me this really lame answer, and they wanted to move. I said, no, we're not going to move on. You believe Jesus is the Son of the living God. Well, what we really, it didn't take long before they had something else to do. It wasn't that I had a brilliant defense. I just wanted to talk about Christ. Now, if you were ever confronted by a religionist and you want to have a very short conversation, don't get into a historical argument, because I'm telling you, these people are trained in debate. All right? They know how to skin people alive. What about that verse that says that there's a spirit of Antichrist? And anybody that denies that Jesus is the Christ, that's the spirit of How do you explain that? And I'm just telling you, people, Jesus is the center figure. And they will want to run you all over history. Just anchor yourself on the person of Jesus Christ. He is our Savior. I am not your bridge builder. I'm not that. I'm your pastor. I'm just like you are. And so, I can't see what time it is. Oh, wow. About time to quit, isn't it, Jamie? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Good. All right. Kill him anyway. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate your presence, and thank you for. I'll tell you how unique I think Riverview Heights is. We have covered a lot of material in 33 years. I mean, it's not just John 3:16. We have stepped off into some areas I think that most churches would find maybe offensive. Yeah, that may be a word for it. There's no need to cover that. Just stay in the middle. And it kind of reminds me of after a football game, where's the field torn up the worst? Between the 40s, right in the middle. Now you can score off the sideline, and I want to thank you for being open to studies like this. I remember when I did the Star series the first time. We had a northern couple that I think it was their first. And they were, I remember, bless his heart, they were a great couple. He was like, and he told me later, he said, I reached over and said to my wife, what are we in here? What is going on here? And after they stayed for the whole series, and when it was all over, he said, "Can you give me a copy of your material?" And he went back when they went back up north. They had kind of like home meetings or whatever, and they shared that truth. And I want to thank you for being willing to study some areas that might pull you out of your comfort zone. And I give you my word. I give you my word that what we study, I never will, never have, and never will present anything to you that I have not filtered, have not studied, have not prayed over, and felt 100% this is right. I don't throw guesswork at you. You're way, way more important than that. I'm not going to do that to you, and haven't done that in this series either. So, if anybody has any questions about this, let me know, and I can get you some. Yes, sir. Wow. I do. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. He just reinterpreted it. He did, and did a great job. So I mean, it has been successful. All right. Thank you all for being here. God bless you. Hope to see you Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We'll be in, I think, chapter 25 of the book. So let's pray and be dismissed. Father, thank you for your goodness. We love you. And I want to thank you for your word. Help us, Lord, to study in depth these things that are true. Sometimes they're a little uncomfortable. But I pray, Lord, that you would give us a heart to receive truth. And if there's ever a conflict between truth and tradition, I pray that we would jettison the tradition that we have and accept the truth that you've given. Thank you for these that are here tonight. Bless us as we go home. Give us a great week. In Jesus' name I pray.